Good day, good morning, afternoon, night, whatever it is at the time that you guys are listening to this. Welcome back to another episode of Kanan's Cadence. Appreciate you guys for joining me once more. Can't say it enough how cool it is just for people to listen. I really keep being taken aback by the number of people that are tuning in and coming to me and like saying, "Hey, I was listening to your episode. Really cool, really nice job," and all the stuff that you're doing. Really appreciate that because again, this has been a cool experience for me, a different type of experience, but a fun one. And it's been cool to talk to people and like about the ideas that I've been going into in these episodes and all that. Wanted to start this episode first by giving a special thanks to my good friend Matt. Um, at the time of recording, just a night before tonight, he and we were talking for a bit. He was telling me about how he's been listening to the podcast, and he's had some pointers on like what I can do to maybe even improve the audio. I think I mentioned in my first episode, at least I put into the description that I was experiencing a couple of audio issues starting out. Again, like I'm not any type of master when it comes to this sort of thing. And I kind of just got this microphone, started recording, and then it just happened to work out. So I just put it up, but I didn't really look into the specifics of what I could or should do when it comes to my audio setup and all the functions and that type of stuff with my microphone and my computer and my headset. So Matt, like, he was gracious enough to like get on call with me for a little bit and walk me through what I could do, just to make things hopefully sound a little bit better and feel better, as well as I'm recording myself. So again, like this will be the first episode that will hopefully have a better type of sound, at the very least the audio levels. He had said that the previous episodes were actually coming up kind of quiet, and I didn't really think much of it at first when I was recording. I was like, okay, well, it does sound kind of quiet, but maybe it's just me. I don't know, and I just put it up. So once I had a second person say that, I was like, okay, well, clearly it wasn't just me. So again, really appreciate the time that he spent with me just last night talking about the audio, and hopefully it pans out. If not, I'm still experimenting, obviously. So what I wanted to talk about today, a lot of you who are listening, likely, or even if you're not, like just people who have come to know me in the last like year to year and a half or so, I want to say like a lot of people have realized how much of an interest, how much of a liking I've taken to the music of and the works of Lindsey Stirling, who is a professional violinist, choreographer. She has been making music and performing for, wow, 15 years, 15 plus years, something like that. I don't remember exactly when she got her start. I'm only recently a fan of hers, I want to say, but the way that I've approached certain aspects of like her performances and her music over the last year, again, like just over a year, I want to say, has on the outside, I can see how it would seem as though I've been into her stuff for longer than I actually have been. No, again, like it was really since July of 2024, and I mean to jump ahead a little bit, like at this point in time, October 2025, like I've been to two of her concerts, one of which I booked as a meet and greet, in spite of the fact that it was only the second time I was seeing her. Paid more than I would for a regular ticket, obviously, but it was for the experience and stuff. And that's the thumbnail that I'm using. If you happen to be looking at this on YouTube or if you follow my Instagram, the thumbnail that I chose to use for this was the picture that I got to take with her for the photo op at that meet and greet from the concert that I went to earlier this year. So that was really cool. So given just how much my affinity for her music and stuff has kind of skyrocketed over just the course of this year and a little before this year. I wanted to talk about like where that actually came from, like how I came to discover her music. I know again like I'm kind of late to the game when it comes to her as an artist, since she's been around for a handful of years at this point. But yeah, so I wanted to just go into that and talk about like some of the experiences that I've had as I was on the two trips that I went to see her concert. So, flashing back again, last year in July, I was working at Target at the time. And when I was there, I remember one day I was walking through the electronics department, as I was covering that day, I believe. And this was right around the time, again, of course, I didn't know at this point, but this was right around the time that Lindsay had released her most recent album, Duality, that had come out middle of last year, I believe. And in July, the electronics department, the TV displays that Target had, they were advertising that album's physical release, the Target exclusive version that was being released. I didn't know anything about her music or who she was, and I don't typically jump into like any type of physical music media releases because honestly, it's really just because I don't have the space to hold a bunch of like vinyls or CDs or whatever it is, so I never really think much of it. Also, I don't tend to look too far into those anyway. But regardless, I wasn't. It wasn't just the vinyl that caught my eye because I didn't know that we had that, of course. Anyway, it was the video that was being used for this advertisement. So I didn't hear much of the music at the time. I was like walking through the department, but I remember glancing at the screen and um, I saw this violinist and dancer like doing these things at the same time, like in one of her music videos. Again, the music video that was shown, it was for her song Inner Gold. um and I the first handful of times that I saw this ad, it was really just like like passing glances. I want to say passing glances, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's really cool." Like, I don't know who that is. I don't know what she's doing, other than I see a violin, I see her dancing. I'm like, "Cool, good for her." So I kind of just keep going, and then like eventually, like I see that ad maybe like two times, three times, four times, and eventually I'm just like, wow, this is like actually really, really impressive. What is this artist's name? And then that's when I chose to like just stop and actually watch the ad at one point. And then I saw Lindsey Stirling advertising Duality. It didn't say the name of the music video or the song that was being shown. So that I had to go and find myself. But I figured, I was like, okay, if it's advertising this new album, it's got to be a song that's off of this album. So later that day, whenever this was, maybe like a week or two later, I go home and I go onto YouTube, go to her YouTube channel, and then I see a thumbnail for a music video, again, Inner Gold, that just had the aesthetic of that video. So I was like, oh, this has got to be the one. So I listened to it and I watched the video, and beyond just like my captivation at like her choreography and being able to play and dance at the same time, I was also just like, wow, this song is actually really good too. I really came to enjoy it. And it's like it's outside of the style of music that I would typically listen to. I want to say, that's it. I bounce around like musical genres just whenever I feel like it. Like I'll listen to whatever sounds good to me. That's typically the way that I'll phrase it as I'm describing people music to people. If they ask me like, "Hey, what do you listen to?" I'm just like, whatever sounds good. So it can be any type of variety. So it's like a lot of rock. There's a lot of I want to say J rock as well. Like I like music from like animes and video games, stuff from Japan, just in general, even if it's not tied to those mediums. I like listening to classical music, wind band music. I have repertoire from like saxophone that I did when I was in college that I'll listen to, and then of course there's a bunch of jazz and like smooth jazz, all that type of stuff, whatever it is, bebop, bossa novas, like stuff like that. But violin that's fused with a mixture of dance music, electronic music, sometimes driving rock, and sometimes classical, and just whatever else she does. And then her earlier stuff, especially dubstep. This was all stuff that I never like took a shine to. Just in general, like nothing ever grabbed me when it came to like those styles of music until I started listening to her music. So after I listened to Inner Gold and watched that video, I was like, this is really, really good. I immediately went and put on the album proper, Duality. And again, like top to bottom, like that album, like I think that it's fantastic just in general. So after doing all of that, like that was enough to make me want to check out her earlier stuff too. And again, that's when I was introduced to like the dubstep influence and all that. That again was like kind of out there for me, but I still found it really, really fascinating. And so I just kept listening and listening and listening. And like, I want to say a month or two later, I'm just like, wow, I want to see her perform live. Those shows got to be amazing. Because it's one thing to listen to what she does, but like to see the actual like choreography if you're watching a music video, or then especially if you're watching a live performance. And I think this for any artist, but like there's one thing to listen, it's another thing to experience that sort of thing live. So I was like, I don't care if I only just got into her music, I want to see her live. So I immediately take to the internet and start looking. I'm like, okay, well, is she touring anytime soon? Where is she playing? Would I have to hop on a plane and fly out to like the opposite side of the country or to a different country or something like that? And I didn't want to I didn't want to do that, but I was willing to at the very least look and see. I typically find when I want to go to a concert, I'm not always that lucky when it comes to performances happening near me in like the New York or just like the northeastern portion of the country. That region, I typically will have to travel if I want to go to a concert for an artist that I'm really, really into. So I was kind of blown away when I was like, okay, well, there's a show coming up in November, and it was in Amherst, Massachusetts. And I'm just like, oh, that's not far at all. That's awesome. So how much are the tickets? I start looking, I see that they're not too much, and I'm just like, that's fantastic. Immediately bought. And again, I was just like, I've only at this point been listening to her music, I want to say maybe a month and a half at this point, and I was just like, nope, I gotta see her live. I feel like this is going to be like an amazing spectacle of a show. And then it dawned on me that it was a Christmas show because this performance was, I think, a day or two before Thanksgiving, and so she was on a Christmas tour at that point. I think like either just at the start or just at the towards the end of a recent Christmas tour that she was doing, end of 2024. And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't expecting that it was going to be Christmas music specific or like anything around that, but whatever, that's no problem. Let me see. I'm gonna go to the show one way or another, and I'm gonna check out her Christmas albums. But I chose to wait until closer to the concert to actually listen to those albums because it's just a personal thing. I'm like, I don't want to listen to Christmas music too early. It's like some people are like the day right after Halloween. Some people will start listening to it all throughout October. Me personally, I will typically hold off on the Christmas music until Thanksgiving at the very earliest. But I was like, okay, well, if this is a Christmas themed concert, I want to know what song she's going to be playing. So on my drive over to Amherst last November, I just put on like her full discography and then ended with the two Christmas albums so that I can prep myself for the show. And sure enough, again, like it was an amazing show. I didn't have a spectacular seat or anything, but I didn't really care. I was like, I have like a good enough view of the stage, get to see her and her dance crew just do what they do and like the sets that they have, and then like the interactions that she has with her other bandmates, her guitarist who also does saxophone, which was awesome, and I think a bit of keyboard if I remember correctly, and then she had a drummer as well. So like seeing them all like play off of each other was so cool. Like I couldn't get enough. And then of course the show ends, and I remember I'm on the phone with my mom. She's asking me like, "Oh, hey, how was the show?" and all that type of stuff. And I'm just raving because I'm like, this was like so cool. This was so cool. I got to see her again at some point. Like the second that I get a chance to, I'm gonna have to go and see her again. So I try not to like. I'm not someone who I don't go to a lot of concerts. I want to say there are certain people that I've known who are like, okay, well, I'm gonna see this artist on like this leg of the tour, this leg of the tour, this leg of the tour. I can't do that personally. I'm like, okay, well, I want to see them once, and then I need to give it at least a few months before I see them again. Like I also just financially, like I don't have a lot of money to do that type of thing anyway. Like I got to be able to plan. I can't go like show to show. Like more power to anyone who can pull that off. That is just not me. At the very least, not right now. And I think I'm okay with that. It's the thing. I don't need to be following any musician around. But regardless, I was like, this was so cool of a show, and it kind of like immediately solidified me as a fan of hers. Before that concert, before I'd even seen her live the first time, I'd purchased like a T-shirt or two or something like that, just so that I can have some sort of merch to rep when I was going to the show, which was another thing that was cool about it. I got one for her Duality album and then one for her second Christmas album, Snow Waltz. I think I ended up wearing that shirt to the show because it was a Snow Waltz tour, so it was for her second Christmas album, She played a bunch of stuff from both of the albums, and then like maybe like once or twice she played one song from like just her regular discography and all that type of stuff. So again, like there was a good mix, and that was really really cool. So again, like I'd gotten that. I didn't even mention before, like the Duality album, as I saw it at Target. After I listened to the album, I went and bought the vinyl, which I don't own a vinyl player. I don't have like a record collection or anything like that, but I wanted the vinyl because it was there, and I was like, hey, show my support to this artist that I'm really starting to enjoy and such. So I went and bought that. I have it actually. It's on my desk. My sister actually got me for Christmas that same year. She got me another Lindsey Stirling Lindsey Stirling record, which was her Artemis album, and she got that for me for Christmas, and with it a like a record stand so that I could display it on my desk or wherever I wanted to. So I put that as well as the Duality album. They're sitting right in front of me. Um, I had the two T-shirts. I had gotten the poster from the Snow Waltz tour, and I was just like, wow, it's only been at this point, it was like December. I'm like, I've only known who this person even is for about 5 months. And yet I have more memorabilia for her than I do for any artists like the Red Hot Chili Peppers that I've been listening to for like years and years and all that type of stuff. So I'm just like, I think I can consider myself a fan pretty safely. And then all throughout the start of this year, 2025, I'm listening to like just her albums on loop. Certain tracks that she's done that are favorites of mine that I've listened to. Of course, Inner Gold was one, but then also off of that same album, there's Survive, there's Surrender, Le Fille, and the Scarlet Queen. I would say that those are my favorites off of that album. One song that's probably the other one off of that one, I Have the Untold Her, which was used. That song got popular because it was utilized by I think a member of the American team for the Olympics last year. So that was cool, like good representation for Lindsey at that point for her song to be used in that regard. So there are those, and then what's one of her probably considered one of her signature songs, "Crystallize," which was off of her first album. That's another favorite of mine. So I would just listen to those whenever I felt like, and then just adding her stuff to a bunch of playlists that I listened to. So she was always like in like rotation with my music at this point. And now, if we flash forward a little bit in this story, I think to about I want to say either April or May of this year. I don't remember how I found out about it. I think that I was just kind of out of curiosity looking up, like, oh, when is Lindsey Stirling going to be performing again? And this year she was doing something that she was doing for the first time, which was performing arrangements of her music with symphony orchestras throughout the country, which I, as someone who is since college, has been like kind of way into classical music and like orchestra concerts, wind band concerts, that type of thing. And now someone who was really into Lindsey Stirling, I was just like, oh my god, I need to get a ticket to one of these shows for sure. So I start looking around. I'm like, okay, well, what show might I be able to go to? When would it be? How will I get there? All that type of stuff. Well, again, I have to travel, get on a plane or whatever. Because again, I don't really like doing that unless I'm going places with people. Maybe I'll change that in the future. That's for another time. But I didn't want to have to fly. I wanted to either drive or take a train. So then I see that she's performing in Washington, D.C. with the National Symphony Orchestra. And I was like, hey, perfect opportunity. I've never been to Washington, D.C. Asterisk on that. That's a story for another time. But I was supposed to go to D.C. when I was in middle school. Never got a chance to. So until this year, I'd never gotten to go to DC and like see all the monuments and whatever. So I was like, hey, that's perfect. It was in the middle of like early to mid July, and I wasn't going to be too caught up with stuff at work at that point, I don't think. And so I was like, absolutely, got to buy a ticket, got to go for it. But then again, the meet and greet type thing. Like I saw that that was an option. It was an option at the first concert that I'd gone to as well, but I was like, first concert, I don't want to be dropping like hundreds of dollars on like a premium VIP ticket for an artist that I barely knew at that point. But like by this point, since I saw how much again merch of hers had I'd come into contact with, into possession of, I should probably say, and how much I was listening to her music at that point, I was just like, you know what? I got to do something nice for myself anyway. let me go and buy a VIP ticket for this show. Why the hell not? Um, so I went and decided to do that. And yeah, like this is the first time that I was actually doing this sort of thing too. As I'm thinking about it, I've been to a handful of concerts. They've always just been like the regular, at like general admission tickets and all that type of stuff. Never gone anything beyond that because I guess it was just like it was a combination of like, I don't know this artist well enough. I don't enjoy this artist enough. Well, if I was going to their concert, obviously I enjoyed them, but like enjoyed them to the point where I would want to like really meet them and stuff. Especially because it was bands. I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to a Chili Peppers concert, I don't think that I need to be meeting the Chili Peppers and all that type of stuff. But Lindsey Stirling, while she's not technically a solo act because she has a band and all that that she performs with, she was the person that I wanted to meet. So I'm like, okay, well, let me book a premium ticket and just plan my trip around it. I can go there, stay there for a few days and whatever, and just make a whole thing about it. And hopefully it goes smoothly. I'll come back and hopefully have had a fantastic time. So once July rolled around, I'm very pleased to say that's kind of exactly what happened. So both trips that I went on for these concerts, the first show in Amherst, the second one in DC, they were solo trips, and like I'd never actually done that sort of thing before. Anytime that I was going to a place, I was traveling with people, whether it was friends or family or something like that, and these were very sporadic trips at that. To the point where I was under the impression that I would only ever go on trips if I was going somewhere with someone. I didn't feel like doing that for either of these concerts. I was like, I knew some people who were into her music, like even partly, but I was like, I don't really want to ask this person if they want to go with me to her concert. Partly because I was like, at the time, it was like, oh, I don't want to impose or whatever. But then it kind of just became like, no, I want this to be something that I do because I stumbled upon her music. I listened through her full discography on my own. I got the merch. Let me be the one to go to this concert. And especially when it was the meet and greet, I was like, let me be the one to meet her because I feel like it. So once the concert actually rolled around, just to jump the gun a little bit, the meet and greet experience was fantastic. Just getting to, for one thing, like it wasn't a huge group, and I was happy about that. It was maybe like upward to like 20 to 25 people or something like that altogether, at the very least for the show that I went to. And it was cool getting to talk to these people as like they're like minded. A lot of them have been into her music way longer than I have, but some of them were actually newer to her music than I was, and that was kind of reassuring because I was like, wow, only second concert in, and I'm already at a meet and greet. Like, is like, am I jumping the gun here? But someone that I was talking to at that experience, they were like, this is actually my very first show of hers that I'm going to. I'm just like, more power to you. That's awesome. But then, so we are in the auditorium waiting for the actual meet and greet. This is maybe about an hour or two, an hour and a half, something like that, before the show was supposed to start. So they brought us all into the auditorium. We're waiting around, and my first tip off, because like one of the other things that makes it makes me hesitant to meet celebrities is the thing, or like people that I'm into, like a fan of, and all that type of stuff, is because I I don't think that I'm the only one to think this. Like sometimes it's like, okay, well maybe this person, the way that they portray themselves through their work is not going to be reflected the same way as themselves or something like that. Maybe they're putting on a guise. Maybe like they're under so much stress that like I don't know, they just buckle or something like that. I don't assume that for everyone, but like it's always just like a nagging thing in the very back of my brain. I'm just like, well, what if this person isn't as cool as they seem to be? But the thing that tipped me off that Lindsay was very much the type of person that she portrays herself as. Like this just down to earth person who just does the things that she does because she wants to have fun, and like she's no different than like just anyone else. It was when we were waiting in the auditorium, the head of the meet and greet, this representative, like they had said to us, like, oh, like just hang tight a couple minutes, like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Lindsay's just backstage. She's finishing up with her dinner and she'll meet you guys out here. So we're all just standing there. We're just talking for a while. And then I remember seeing, like, just all of a sudden, like a couple of the people that I'm talking to, like they turn and look towards the stage. I turn as well, and she's just power walking through the auditorium because she's like, "Oh wow, this is awkward. I figure you guys are probably waiting for me, and I'm taking up all your time, huh?" And we're all just like, "No, no, no, take your time." And again, like it was like goofy, it was fun, and then after that, like we all lined up, we started taking our pictures with her, and then like we are brought in for a Q&A sort of thing, and I was the first person to ask her a question because I was like, "Hey, I'm here for a Q&A. I'm not going to be like starstruck because like, oh, she's a celebrity or anything like that. I'm just like, if I'm here for the Q&A, I'm going to ask a question, obviously." Um I could tell that a couple of the others who were there were a little bit starstruck, so they didn't know what to say, or they wanted to wait for someone else to say something. So I was like, all right, well, let me be the one to lead off. And just me being a musician, all that type of stuff, a creative, and like me running into creative block, as I do throughout my life, I asked a question somewhere like revolving around that topic, where I was like, hey, you choreograph your own music or your own music videos, your dances, you write all your own music, and you also design your own dresses and all that type of stuff. And you have a lot of different outfits that you use for these videos and performances. What do you do when you run into like a creative block? Is the thing. Because from the viewer's perspective, the listener's perspective, it seems like that creative drive probably would never run dry for her. And she was just like, no, of course, like I run into that all the time. And my thing is, when I run into the creative block, if it's say like I can't think of an idea for my songs to write, then I'll move on to doing my dance steps. If I can't think of any dance steps, then I'll move on to designing a dress. And if I can't think of a dress design, then I'm gonna go and write the music. So it's like she creates like a triangle sort of thing. And I've tried that myself, but it was cool and was kind of reassuring hearing that from someone like her who has does more stuff regularly that involves creativity, like a lot of creativity than I do, just being honest. So that was awesome. And the performance, again, I wasn't the very front row, but I was like second from the front. And on my Instagram post that I put up for this video, I also shared a shot, like a little clip that I took at the concert of one of the songs, her song Roundtable Rival, that she was performing with the orchestra. And it was amazing. It was an amazing view. The arrangements with the orchestra were fantastic, and just all in all, like, again, like her energy, her banter on stage with her bandmates, and all that type of stuff that comes across. It was just a phenomenal experience in general. And to not have this go too much longer, as I'm already approaching a half hour, which is kind of crazy. Um, the one thing that I didn't mention when it came to her, and like one of the reasons I feel as why I've kind of taken so strongly to her music and like her performances and all that type of stuff over the last year to year and a half, is just the fact that like I've had like a lot of stuff happen in my life. Somehow managed to find myself in not one but two scenarios where I was going through what felt like major breakups, both surrounding these two concerts. The first concert was right after a major breakup. The second concert was right before a major breakup. So like there was always like some sort of connection to her music, and her music just makes me feel better, is the thing. It just makes me feel good as I'm listening to it. It's fun, it's light. A lot of it is like really relaxing, and others are like really like energized and like just get the blood flowing and all that type of stuff. And it's again fun to listen to. So that's a large part of why like she has become like a staple when it comes to musicians that I listen to at this point. I don't, and part of me also kind of hopes, like knock on wood, just like please don't make it so that every single time I'm going to see her, there is going to be some sort of like major life event happening for me, because I would also like to just go to a concert and not have to worry about that type of stuff. But the concerts and like the trips that I went on surrounding them were like positive enough and like fun, because like I was able to experience it by myself, like on my own terms at my own pace, and then be able to bookend it with one of her phenomenal shows. So as an idea, again, like as I'm bringing this to like a bit of a close here, um if there is any question as to why I am like suddenly as big a Lindsey Stirling fan as I am now, all those reasons right there. Again, like I can't recommend her stuff enough. Again, like I understand that it's not for everyone. Is the thing. Like it's very like she's very experimental with the stuff that she does, and takes a lot of risks. Like she had to like go through like years and years of like almost like scrutiny against her style, and like even now still deals with that, just because like it's in a lot of ways like just unconventional in comparison to other things that other artists have done. But that's why I find it so fascinating. It's the uniqueness of it, and the fact that it's just like so like indisputably like just her is the thing. Like it's her style. It's a thing that she decided to do, and she just stuck to her guns and did it. And I respect that immensely. So again, like even if you don't jive with like the style of music that she does, like just check out some of it and just see, like even if you just watch one of her music videos or something like that, or a snippet of like a live performance, just to get an idea of the types of things that she does. Because again, like she really is like just kind of an incredible musician, and I'm really really glad that's one positive thing that I can give to Target's electronics department, or Target just in general, is that that's the reason that I discovered her music in the first place. So let me call this a wrap. I have other things that I can absolutely talk about when it comes to those trips, like more specifics, like things that she performed, things that I did just on the trips themselves. That's another episode that I already have in the works, kind of. It's just like talking about like these solo trips and the things that I've done with them and others that I want to take. So those will be saved for another time. As always, again, I really, really appreciate anyone for like listening to any bit of this. Again, like I almost said fully, but I'm just like, no, if you listen to like just a minute, a second, 5 seconds, or the entire thing, whatever it is, really appreciate you stopping in just to see what it is I have to say. And I'll catch you guys in the next one, as always. All right, take care.